Hello, this is Mindy Vincent, and welcome back to Therapeutic Madness. Today is episode 3, and it is part 2 of our series on Kratom, or Kratom as some people call it, but I'll still stand by that I think it's called Kratom, right?
Yeah.
I think that they're saying it wrong too.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking about? It's clearly called Kratom.
It's not a D, it's a T.
Right?
Yes.
And Kratom? It's like...
That's
strange. So anyway, my 2 wonderful, lovely guests today are here to talk about their experience with Kratom and how it's been beneficial for them in their lives. So let me introduce you to Maddie.
Hello.
And Melanie.
Hi.
Okay, so ladies, first of all, thank you so much for coming and being on the show. Thank you for being willing to talk about your experiences. And
Thanks
I know
for having
that
us.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful because I know that sometimes it's really hard to talk about things, especially I think in our community, in our state, people tend to hide the things that are going on in their families, and I'm just really grateful for people who are willing to step up and fight against the stigma and have honest conversations.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many misconceptions.
Yes, and have honest conversations about substances, because substances, I say this all the time, in and of themselves, there's nothing wrong with any substances. Yeah. It's how some people may use them. But overall, we just demonize things that we don't know about.
Yeah.
So why don't we start, Maddie? Why don't we start with you? Is that okay?
Sure.
I'm sorry, everyone. My little helmet keeps flying off the back of my head, so don't mind me. So Maddie, tell us a little bit about your story.
Okay, you want me to go into it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
The people want to know.
I'm gonna try not to read it. So if I'm talking too much about one thing, let me go. Let me know.
Okay. Let me go or let me know, Maddie.
I can go right
out.
I'll dip out right now.
You can go either way.
Okay,
All right,
so
please take it away.
First off, my name's Maddie. You know that. So I have been sober since March 12th, 2017.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Congratulations, my friend.
So no one grows up, I grew up in a good family, a good neighborhood, no one grows up thinking oh, I'm gonna be a junkie and shoot heroin for 10 years, you know what I mean?
Melanie is Maddie's mom, by the way.
Yes. Yes.
She grew up in a good home. Mostly.
Yes.
Look how nice Melanie looks.
So basically, anxiety and depression runs in my family and other mental illnesses, and that coupled with being abused as a child led me to a road of not fun. I became an alcoholic and an addict from a young age, and 10 years of which were shooting up heroin, which is, no one ever thinks they're going to do that growing up.
Right. Or even when they start using drugs.
Yeah.
I think even people when they start using drugs think, I'm not going to do that though. At least I'm not them, and gosh, I would never use a needle.
Yes.
Well, you think of heroin as heroin.
Right?
No one would use that.
Right?
Well,
yeah.
and even between other addicts, the meth heads are at least I don't do that black stuff. And all the heroin addicts meth addicts are crazy,
I'm a retired tweaker, and I always say that.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, well, at least I'm not a heroin addict.
Yeah.
I think it's just that little bit of ego and dignity trying to be held on to I'm still better than this.
Yeah. Right.
No, we're all in the gutter right here.
Right? None of us are doing our best in life currently.
Yes. So I started going to rehabs at the age of 21. I'm now 29, about to be 30, which is crazy.
Happy birthday early.
Thank you.
I love birthdays.
Quite nice. So basically, first off, when you're not ready to get sober, you're not ready. But I've been to multiple treatment centers there for I was there from June to December once. So not little I went to detox. I really tried. And with other other problems and aspects of my life, it seemed almost impossible to get sober and stay sober, because I have other health elements back issues. I have painful ovarian cysts. I have a multitude of anxiety, OCD, depression, PTSD, all these things, which that's not uncommon, especially in the addiction community.
Yeah.
Right? But you know what's so interesting about that? Yeah. I'm glad that you brought that up, because something that's very interesting about that is people in recovery especially, we seem to have this demand upon them because we don't ever want them to take any substance ever, right? That's this hardcore belief of abstinence. And so we it's we expect them to never experience chronic pain, illnesses, if you have, I mean, I think that the recovering community supports like mental health medications, but sort of, because I actually know plenty of people in AA and stuff who will not sponsor people that are on like psychotropic medications or depression medications. And that's for a whole nother show. And we'll go off about that and why that shouldn't be.
Because they affect your mental state.
Right, because they're a mind-altering substance. And it's like, well, that's ridiculous because for a whole multitude of reasons. But I'm glad that you brought that up because we can't just have this expectation of people in recovery that they never can take an opiate again, right? That
And,
they can't
as
take
a mom,
Kratom.
you do. You start out thinking that.
Yeah.
Well, no, she can't get her wisdom teeth out because she'll be in pain, or she can't, so you panic about it.
Yeah.
But
She'll be off the chain.
Yeah.
All my friends told me so.
Yeah.
You know?
My whole thing is if you're cleaning house and taking care of you, like if a surgery comes up, there's nothing. I don't feel like I'm very strong, but I know my God is, and I know my program is. So when things come up, you can walk through that.
Yeah.
Just a part of the no matter what club, they call it.
Yeah.
Like you don't use or drink no matter what. There's
Yeah.
going to be people that die. There's going to be surgeries. There's going to be car accidents. There's going to be things we can't foresee. But that doesn't mean you're not going to be sober through it.
Yeah.
But I like that you said, I just underlined this because in my story I said, trying to treat all these things plus addiction, there's no way a 12-step program, an antidepressant, and a Tylenol would fix that. And people are like, oh, we'll just have surgery, take Tylenol. Like,
Don't you love that when people are like, you know what? Actually, what you need to do is rotate Tylenol and ibuprofen every 4 hours. And it's like, do you understand that Tylenol is actually one of the worst substances on earth for your liver?
I blew my stomach out so bad on
I
that.
had a liver
So
failure
bad.
from Tylenol.
That's
Two of them,
terrible.
actually, before I was even 18 years old.
Yep.
From I was abusing Tylenol cold. But yeah, Tylenol is nothing to fuck around with.
No.
It's what we hand out like candy. It's like, that's the standard thing. What's funny, too, is some of those people are alcoholics or who have already like jacked up their livers through drug abuse, and we're like, you know what? Just take
Just
a
add that on
Tylenol
top.
or an ibuprofen. It's gonna be fine.
It's fine.
Rotate them every 4 hours. So it didn't work for you.
No, it didn't. And every time I would get sober, it'd be like a 30, 60, 90, or like a small relapse or a big relapse, or I'd go out because it seemed so hopeless.
Yeah.
And there was a time after, so I had my son at 24, and his father passed away of an overdose when he was 8 months old.
Oh,
and so
so sorry.
that year was a boo-boo year. That was a not good year.
Yeah.
But obviously that was a huge catalyst in me. I have to stay sober now. Like I don't have a choice to leave,
Yeah.
you might want to add that Levi, you weren't using drugs while you were pregnant. That Levi was.
No, I had a great doctor. I was on Subutex for the first little bit.
Yeah.
And then after, so he was born perfectly healthy, which is a miracle.
Yeah,
which is
he's
nice.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I just have to take that second really quick to just remind everyone that babies are not born addicted. Babies cannot be addicted because babies do not know how to seek the substance, despite negative and painful consequences. So babies can be born dependent. And that happens. There's a lot of reasons why that happens too in people's lives. And so I just know people scream, but the children. And I love the children too. And I would prefer none were even born dependent. Yeah. However, they're not born addicted. And when we use different language, it scares people.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I do want to clarify
dependency is a
that-
medical kind of condition, so.
Yeah. But if I didn't have that doctor, it would have been very hard through my pregnancy because addiction doesn't just turn on and off.
And can I ask you, was that hard in itself because there's so much stigma around
There
pregnancy
is,
and substances and medication-assisted therapy?
No, luckily, I've had the same doctor since I was like 12, and she's still my doctor now. Like she's so awesome, and she knew, like, if you need this, let's do this. And like she found like another doctor in the clinic that could only prescribe Subutex because like you can't do. I couldn't do Suboxone because the blocker in it gave me really bad migraines. And so like she single-handedly like worked it out. She's awesome.
Yeah.
Love her. But
and another funny piece of information, any doctor can prescribe opiates, but only specially trained doctors can prescribe the tapering medications or the detoxification medications for opiates. So Subutex, Suboxone.
yeah, they're always like weird.
Yeah, they worked.
laws.
They worked really good in tandem, and then to help you wean off of it in enough time before Levi was born.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. Which, that is scary, like, to talk about how you said, like, you don't want to tell people, like, oh, yeah, I was on medication with my son. Like, you have to clarify, like, he was good, like, he didn't suffer, he didn't have withdrawals, but, like, I think that's a beautiful thing, though. Like, if I didn't have that, like, I don't know what would have happened.
It's the appropriate medical treatment for someone who has an opiate addiction who is pregnant.
Yeah.
Like it's appropriate medical treatment, but people just have their own beliefs and stigmas around it. So
Yeah.
I was wondering how that impacted you.
Yeah, but speaking of Subutex, that's what actually got me onto Kratom, was because I was on Subutex for like a year after Levi was born, and
Without any relapses in there, or
no, but I was like abusing like Adderall and stuff like that as well, but I wasn't like shooting up drugs or
Right.
yeah, but I didn't want to be on that anymore, and I had to taper off of it. I tapered down too because I went to like a rehab for like the Adderall and all that stuff, because, which, just to clarify, because there's like that whole like opiate crisis and like that with like doctors and like big pharma, like people blaming all that stuff. It was never a doctor putting that down my throat. I actively sought out those medications. Like I chose to do that, and that is my accountability. Like I don't think you should put, I think we as like addicts should take the accountability. Like yes, there are some doctors that overprescribe it, but you went there for that.
Yeah, well, some went there for that. I think that some people didn't know what they were getting prescribed or what they were signing up for. And I think that some doctors didn't know because the OxyContin people told them, you know, this stuff isn't addictive.
Yes.
It's, you know, but I also think the doctors knew pretty quickly that was not true, you know, and they kept prescribing. But the truth is if you look at drug addiction 20 years ago, we saw just as many people addicted to drugs. They just weren't white middle class women abusing pain medications. So the substance use problem has always existed.
Yes.
It's always just a different demon. And now for the first time in history, probably, we have a primarily white population being affected. And so that does cause people to react very differently.
Yeah. Which I think it's not, I think addiction and like abuse of drugs, it's not a respecter of persons. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. It doesn't matter what color of skin you have. This is like a human problem. Yeah. Like everybody. But I just wanted to say that with that because I know it's really affected my brother with his back and not being able to, like, when you have back surgery and they give you like 5 Percocet. Yeah. Like, oh, we can't prescribe those anymore. Like for people that really need it, there needs to be a different balance.
Yeah, they are punishing the wrong people.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to be getting into that.
Yes, but back to, so I was tapering off Subutex, which I was prescribed, and Kratom's not prescribed, but that was the worst of my life. I tapered down to like a 0.5 milligram, like over weeks, and then after that, I still had like the worst withdrawals, like, and mentally, I just felt like a suicidal robot. Oh. Like it was horrible. And because of that, my brother was like, hey, I've been researching this stuff. It's called Kratom. You might want to give it a try.
Is your brother older or younger?
He's older.
Okay.
My older brother. And
I always like to know that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a thing about sibling order. Okay.
Yeah. Which my brother, which we'll get into his story too, but he's like never partied, never touched a drug, nothing like that. So we're complete
not like
opposites.
You, huh?
Yes. Black sheep.
No.
So I tried it, and it was like, I felt like it leveled the playing field for me with like other people, because I knew like the program, I really wanted to be sober, but like with all these other health problems, I felt like I couldn't keep it like that.
Yeah.
I couldn't stay sober. So I felt like that was like a huge thing. Like with my PTSD, like I could leave the house.
Yeah.
I could take my son to the park. Like I could do these cool things because of something that some people, like, it's very misunderstood, but I'm so grateful to Kratom. And I just wanted to clarify, because a lot of people in the recovery community especially were like, they don't like Kratom, they think it's like garbage heroin, but never, I realized this the other day, because I woke up and like I hadn't taken Kratom in a long time. I like been playing with Levi and like watching movies and stuff.
Long time as in hours.
Yeah,
day, from the day before.
Yeah, because with my Kratom, I take it like a medication. I have, just like with Tylenol, I take every 4 to 6 hours. Like I have a certain schedule. I don't go over my schedule. I don't take a bunch to get high off of it. I feel like it doesn't even get you high. I feel like it turns off that message in my brain that says like something's wrong, like you need a drug to fix this.
You need to self-medicate, my friend, huh?
Yeah. The alert, like, because the way I equate like drugs and like drug addiction is, if you were stuck in the desert with no water and you were dying, like it was days and you were dying, with that level of ferocity, and like that would be your whole goal in life. We got to find water or we're all going to die.
Yeah.
That's how my brain works to tell me, you got to find this drug. You're going to die. Like, this doesn't work. So it just turns off that message in my brain that I can just be normal and even without getting me high, because opiates would do that as well, but then you'd get high from it.
Did you struggle with cravings while you were on Subutex?
Yeah, well, I shot up my Subutex. I would sell it and get drugs instead, or I'd use it, alternate it.
That's not how you're supposed to use it, friends.
No, that's not how you're supposed to use it. But
and some people do use it that way and abuse it. Not the majority. Just have to throw that out there too. But so it wasn't working for you.
No, it was not.
Obviously, because when it's working for you, that usually isn't when you do those things.
Yes. Yeah.
So did that start happening as you started tapering down? That the Subutex, those activities started to take place, or was it throughout?
As I started tapering down Subutex.
Is that when like the cravings started kicking in, or was it throughout the time you were on Subutex?
Throughout the time.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, man.
Throughout the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you started taking the Kratom, and you'd been on the Subutex for a year.
I started taking the Kratom once I got off Subutex. So I was withdrawing from Subutex, even though I had tapered down so much.
And how did it help you with the withdrawal symptoms?
Because it's like a pain reliever. It
Right.
definitely helped me with my withdrawal symptoms.
That's
sure.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And then so you just transitioned kind of to Kratom from there. And
Yes.
now you use it for your pain management. Does it
Yes.
help with any mental health stuff?
Oh, absolutely. That's mainly what I take it for, because I do
Really?
my 12-step programs. I go to therapy. I'm in intensive EMDR therapy. I do, and a bunch of other spiritual things as well.
Yeah.
That's like my recovery side. I don't take it for addiction. I take it for like my chronic pain, my anxiety, depression, because every time I would get sober, I used to be prescribed Xanax or Valium or all these things for anxiety and PTSD where you can't even leave the house. But then once you get sober, it's like, and I lost the right to take that myself, because I would abuse those when I was trying to be sober, and that's the only thing I had. And
abused it.
Yeah, I would abuse it for sure. And so I had to find something for myself that worked, that I couldn't abuse, and also in conjunction with my doctor finding the right, like I take like Strattera for ADD instead of Adderall and stuff. So it's really a combined effort with my doctor, with prescribed medications, 12-step programs, therapies, and Kratom.
And so what is the response that you get from the people in the 12-step community? Like, what does your sponsor have to say about you taking Kratom? You have a sponsor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does your sponsor have to say about it? And what do your friends in 12 Steps have to say about it?
I like don't tell everybody,
Yep.
because there's a huge stigma about it, like, oh, you're not sober, you don't belong here,
That's
don't
correct.
come here.
Yeah.
That's why I asked that question, because
Yeah,
I thought,
you
well, people in the 12-step program are now going to know. And guess what? Work your own program, bud. Worry about
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
she's doing great.
Yep.
Yeah.
I get very defensive about that stuff.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
So does your sponsor know that you utilize
Yeah.
Kratom? And
My sponsors in the past, most of my sponsors have been excellent about it. That I've only had like 3 that know. But just like, if you are actively working a program, you don't feel like you're abusing it, and it's not something, because I do know people that have tried to abuse Kratom, but they're also using and doing drugs, and they're not. It's just like, how am I gonna say this? Like, if you got, I don't know, I lost my train of thought with that. Like, anything can be abused.
Anything can be abused. And
Yeah.
we know, and even in AA, so it talks about in the big book, the alcohol and drugs are merely a symptom of the problem.
Absolutely.
They're
Yes,
what we
it's-
use to ease
Yep.
ourselves, but we have a dis-ease inside, and
Yeah.
not disease like we're diseased, like dis-ease,
yes.
that
It's
we
the
have to
solution to your
medicate.
problem
And
until
all
it
human
doesn't work.
beings are hardwired to seek pleasure and avoid
Yeah.
pain.
Yeah.
And when you find something that is rewarding to the brain, it easily becomes an overlearned habit or an overlearned coping skill, especially when you're trying to medicate trauma, pain, a
Yeah.
lack of coping skills, lack of family and community connection, all sorts of things that people self-medicate over, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a firm believer that the reason why people still abuse substances, even when they're supposed to be sober or anything like that, it's because they're still just trying to medicate. They're just
Yeah.
not ready to be all the way numb you, you know,
Yes.
and people are just doing the very best that they can.
Yeah.
You know?
And often they don't want to deal with the pain.
Yeah.
It's a past pain, and they don't want to bring it up, and they think that they're just fine,
Yeah.
but it's really that pain that is driving them to abuse.
Right.
To get
Or
feeling better.
they don't know how to deal
Yeah.
with it. Because, you know, if somebody
Yeah.
who is addicted to heroin, if they knew a better way
Oh.
to handle
They would
life
do it.
besides shooting heroin, they would. Like,
Yeah.
when I tell people, I'm like, you know, if I'd have known another way, like, I would have done it. You know,
Yeah,
when
no one
people
wants
said,
to
if
be
you
doing
love your
that.
kid enough, it's like, I did love him enough.
Yes.
I do
Yeah.
love him enough.
Yeah.
I didn't know something else to do, and nobody ever gave me another option. You
We-
know, the
we
only other
would've-
option people give is jail.
We
Yeah.
would have never in a million years thought that we would have a daughter using heroin.
Right.
I mean,
How did this happen to
You know,
us?
I grew up
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
6 other siblings, and I knew my kids might drink or my kids might smoke pot, or you know that might be something they go through.
Right.
But never in a million years would we have expected this.
Yeah.
And so it was a real eye opener for us. And as we talk to people, and I have some people say, "Oh, I don't know anyone who uses drugs. I don't know anyone who's ever shot up heroin." I'm
Well,
like,
that's
yeah,
probably not true.
you probably do, and
You don't
they're-
know it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I said it's in every neighborhood.
Yep.
Every family has some story.
Yep, and so are
So-
prescription pills.
Yeah,
You
oh,
know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
if you're
Oh, yeah.
eating 10 Lortabs at a time,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like, you're just as bad off as somebody shooting
Yeah.
heroin. In fact, you're spending
Yeah.
more money. So
Yeah.
who's
Yeah.
the sucker now?
That's why.
And so, and so Melanie,
absolutely.
tell me, what were your thoughts about when, you know, as she's going through, as Maddie's going through her struggles with addiction, and then when did she come to you and say, Mom, I'm going to use Kratom? And what were your thoughts about that when you heard it? Because the dialogue typically for family is, you know, like, don't help them, cut them off. If they act in any of these behaviors, you cut them off. You don't have anything to do with them, you know. And if they use any substance ever, they're on their way
Then they're
out,
done.
and they're going to be smoking
Yeah.
crack on Thursday.
Yeah.
Oh,
we-
today
I mean,
is Thursday, so probably Friday
Yes.
they'll be smoking
You
crack.
know, we'd been through all that, and we have 3 other kids, and we'd been through all that with Maddie of, well, if this happens, then the door's locked.
Yeah.
You know, you can't come home. But by the time she got to Kratom, there was a clear difference in her. It was clear that she wanted a different life.
Yeah.
And even though we knew that she didn't want the life she was living, she wasn't actively pursuing getting better. We didn't feel like. And so by the time she started using Kratom, I'll be honest, my first thought was, one more thing.
Yep.
You
Here
know?
we go again.
Here we go. But it wasn't ever a, well, you'll be out of the house, or you'll be, it was
Yeah.
kind of like, well, let's see.
And you had already heard of it, right? Because your son had been
Well,
using
yes, but
it?
we hadn't
or-
really heard about it. He hadn't been using it. He had just been researching it.
Oh, okay.
We like
And so-
tried it at the same time.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
So it
be-
wasn't like something the family was familiar with or
No,
something.
no, it was
so-
totally because of the back injuries and the back problems that he had at
Yeah.
an early age. He'd been researching it. And so my husband and I were both kind of, can't you just not use anything? Can't you just be clean?
You're gonna have to
But
buy
then-
that for the rest of your life. Or
Yeah,
something like that
yeah,
kind of
you know,
situation.
and it's one more dependency. But boy, this is a dependency, or or something she uses that she functions totally with.
Yeah.
She has a life. She's a good mother, and she's going to school, and she's living a good life.
Does it
Yeah.
does it have any impacts on you? I've utilized Kratom myself just a few times. In fact, typically I'll take Kratom before I get a tattoo done, because you guys don't know this, but
Oh,
I'm fully
sleeve.
sleeved. I've got one across here, got them on my leg. Like,
Yeah.
So because it does help with pain, right? So,
Yeah.
but it also, like when I take Kratom, it can make me very ornery. Like opiates make me very ornery.
Yeah.
And so, does it affect your mood, or does it have any other kind of negative side effects for you?
I feel like if you take too much,
Uh-huh.
it can make you grouchy.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's the same, like, opiates would do
Yeah.
that too, but that's
Yeah.
more of an opiate thing. But I feel like it affects my, like, body temperature.
In a negative way or
Like,
a
I get,
good way?
I'll feel, like, really hot
Yeah.
when I'm on it, and then when I get cold, I can tell, like, oh, it's probably been, like, 5 hours. Like, that's how I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it keeps you warm at night.
Or really cold.
Oh, really cool.
Or it freezes
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, and you haven't had any other negative side effects from it besides that?
If I take too much, I would get a headache.
Okay.
Had
If
that.
you just stopped taking it, what would happen?
The way I describe it, it's kind of like a very, very, very mild withdrawal. Very mild. Like, my nose will kind of run and I'll get cold.
Uh-huh. But it's not something that's unmanageable for you, you don't
No.
think?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I wrote on here too, because I think I started to say this earlier, but we went off, but that's a good thing though.
I do
Never in the history of me using have I had some, like, black in the drawer and, like, woke up and be like, I'm going to wait a couple hours before I take that. Or, like, oh, I can save that for later. Or ration it out for the day.
Right.
Like, that's unheard of. Like, once you start doing it, like,
My eyes are
You're gonna
open.
be sitting there in that bathroom for hours doing shot after shot
Right.
after shot. Like, you don't just have that and put it on the back burner. But like, I can wake up and be playing with Levi or doing something, and hours later, like, oh, I haven't even taken my Kratom today. Like,
Yeah.
that's proof to me right there that is not the same as an opiate.
Right.
Well, it's
100%.
also on days where you're not feeling good or your body is hurting. That's when that kind of kicks in, and then you're like, I'm in pain, and it's like, oh,
I need
yeah,
to
I
take Kratom.
haven't taken Kratom.
Yeah.
So how long have you been taking Kratom now?
4 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How long? And your sobriety date's 2017?
Yeah, so I actually had a year sober.
Uh-huh.
And then it wasn't because of a boyfriend, but I was with somebody that was very toxic. They kept using and kept using.
Finances and romances,
Yep.
buddies.
Yep. I have a broken picker, 100%.
Most people do.
Pick the bad ones.
There's
But-
not that many good ones to choose from, though, to be fair, Maddie.
Yeah.
No.
True. That's very true. Accurate. But I like helped him through so many relapses and stuff like that it led me to a relapse. And so I had I was like 2 weeks away from my year 2, which was so devastating. But I'm very grateful for that now, because now that gave me like the greatest insight to be like, hey, you don't want to be with this person. Like,
Yeah.
you got to end this, because it was back on and off and on and off. So now I'll have 3 years in March.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is
That's awesome.
fantastic. So, Mom, you're very proud of her
Majorly proud of her.
and a big supporter of Kratom now.
Yeah,
I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I think that
and I don't care if she has to take it the rest of her life.
You know,
As long as she buys it.
Yeah, because I've heard it's actually gotten significantly
Oh.
more expensive.
Yes.
So does that make it? So that's something that we should probably ask
Yeah.
about. Does that
Yeah.
make it more difficult for you to obtain? And then how are
Yeah.
you personally affected by like
Yeah.
policies and laws that are being created? That
Yeah, because when like the whole like it was going to become illegal scare.
right?
So I knew it was about to become illegal, so I bought 1 key, like a kilo.
Yeah,
And it was like 150 or something for that. And then the next
kilo
day.
is 2.2 pounds,
Yes.
friends.
Yes. And then I know I was saying key the other day, and my brother's like, I'm not a drug dealer. I don't know what that means. It's a kilo. And I was like, oh, sorry. But I bought one, and then the next day, my brother's like, if this is illegal, like we might need more. Which,
How many more kilos can you get?
Yeah, really.
because
Really?
he was getting his own, obviously, but like, that's the thing. Like, it doesn't matter if people like make things illegal or anything. If you are suffering, just like an addiction, like you would find a way to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if your son was so dehydrated in the desert, had no water, you would find a way to get some water.
That's
you know what I mean?
correct.
So the next day it went to like 370. The same thing on the same
Yeah.
website.
Oh my
and
gosh.
it's just stayed at that price ever since.
And we
then.
kept thinking when it didn't become illegal and all the work that's been done to make that happen,
Yeah.
we could think, okay, the prices will drop back down. But
And no.
no.
How long does a kilo last?
I don't know. I take about 13 grams a day. So not a ton.
So
I
I'd
break it
have
up.
to like do some math, like yes.
But
6 months, 6
6
weeks. Our friend said it's 6 weeks. She already knows the math.
yeah. So it's a lot. Like, so right now I can't afford to buy a full one. So I
Yeah.
get it's like because I buy from a very expensive website, because you can't go to like a smoke shop and buy Kratom and expect it not to be filled with sawdust and random pesticides and stuff. It's just like
Yeah.
you wouldn't buy an ibuprofen from some random person on the street. Like, oh yeah,
Right.
Like you got to find out who's selling it, what's in
Yeah.
it, the best route to do it. But I get 3 bags of like 4 ounces of like 3 different kinds.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So you like kind of do your own like sort of wizardry with
Yeah,
your Kratom?
I do like
Yeah.
a green melee, a red tie, that in the morning, afternoon, and then in the night I do a Mingda.
And you're really good at measuring exactly, so you know what you're taking,
Yeah.
and every single time
I do
she's got
4,
the scale
4, 3,
out.
2.
I have found that people who utilize Kratom, like they really do know about the different strains of
Yeah.
Kratom, and you know
What
it
they
is
do.
very particular
Yeah.
for people's bodies.
I
and-
can't take a white. A white gives me like the worst anxiety, doom feeling. I cannot take a white
Interesting.
vein. Yeah.
So interesting. Okay, well, I think this is probably a good time for us to take our break.
Sure.
And so we will take a break, and when we come back, we're going to start off with Melanie, and she's going to tell us the story of her son, because Kratom is sort of like a family activity in this family. Just kidding. It's just the 2 kids.
Yeah.
But so she's going to share with us some of his story, and then we'll talk some more about how it's just impacted the family.
Yep,
and
great.
So we'll be back.
Great.
Sweet.
Yep.
So
Okay.
hello, welcome back to episode 3 of Therapeutic Madness, part 2 of our series on Kratom and its uses, and we talked about some struggles with it. So let's turn to you, Melanie.
Okay.
So tell us about, what is your son's name?
Jason.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about Jason's story. Jason wanted to be here today, but he was unable to be here. But we're grateful that he was willing to share his story with us anyway. So tell us about Jason's experience with Kratom.
Okay. Well,
Is he
Jason,
addicted to heroin too?
no. Jason's very
Nothing wrong with
different.
being addicted to heroin.
Yeah.
my friends.
Polar opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not polar opposites. Jason's very different, though, in that he was the kid who kind of did everything right. And
Overachiever.
So he's why you use
Yes.
You can never be good enough next to Jason.
Yes.
and he played basketball in high school, and started his own company. He's just really, he's a good guy all around.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not that Maddie's not a good person, but Jason just
She's made amends by now, Melanie.
Yes.
No, Jason didn't drink in high school. He didn't smoke pot. He didn't do any of that. He's married. He's got kids. He's got a successful business. But he started having back problems, which he comes by naturally.
Yeah.
I've
You
act-
started having him very young, right?
Very young. But I've had a spinal fusion of 3 discs, and actually 2 discs, excuse me. And Jason, in his early 20s, started having some severe. And he's big. He's a tall, big guy. And
How tall is
I shouldn't use big. He's 6'4".
No,
That is
he's
tall.
a big guy.
And he's a big guy. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And he's a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
And he
6'4"
he
people
started
are.
having back problems, and he started doing everything he could, in physical therapy and trying to do all the exercises and warming up in the day and all that. And they got so bad that he went to an orthopedic surgeon. And he said, "You got some disc problems, but let's do this and this and this." Well, down the road, he's ended up having multiple discectomies.
What is that?
And it's where they go in and the disc is kind of oozing out, and
Yeah.
they clean the oozing part.
That sounds
So,
horrific.
and then once you have a fusion, they actually put a metal cage. in
Yeah,
your
my
back.
dad has that.
Yeah, so that's what I've got.
Ah!
But I didn't have mine till 8 years ago.
Has the cage worked for you?
It has worked great.
That's
It's
good.
great.
It didn't work that great
Yeah.
for my dad.
Yeah, it worked great for me. So, but that was after 3 discectomies.
Yeah.
So I tried the whole route.
crazy.
But so Jason finally went to one of the best neurosurgeons. So this is probably about 4 or 5 years after dealing with pretty bad pain. He went to one of the best in Utah, and he walked into the office and he said, literally, by looking at your MRI, I would think I was walking into an office to see a man that's 55 years old, not a 28-year-old kid.
Yeah. And
He
it's been
said-
doing construction all his life.
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah. So he said, I just can't believe how bad your MRI is. And so he said, let's do another discectomy and let's kind of talk about down the road. So Jason has had to take opioids to deal with pain, and he's totally functioning and has a good life and has never abused them. And he started getting problems again. He's done the nerve, where they burn the nerve. He has tried everything. He's done acupuncture, everything. And finally...
Well, and with the cortisone shots, he has like a bad reaction to
yeah.
them, or it gives you like terrible anxiety,
Yeah.
depression.
Oh, that
Yeah.
sucks.
yeah.
So those don't even work.
Oh,
Yeah.
and those are painful anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard
Yeah.
they're painful. And they're temporary. So
but
there's
he's been
something you have
willing.
to always
He's
go in
been
and do
willing to try
again.
anything. So, but
Yeah.
he's had to use opioids, and then the whole opioid crisis,
Right.
which we really have a different view in our family.
Uh-huh.
We really feel like, and going through Maddie's experience, that it sure seems like a high percent of people who actually abuse and become addicted are people who are masking pain. Who
Yeah.
are trying to cover up some emotional pain that they're not willing to deal with.
Yes.
That most people who are using them for pain are not going to become addicted. That's our opinion. They'll become dependent.
Yeah,
But it
maybe,
won't be.
depending on how long
Yeah,
you take
yes,
them and at what
yeah.
level. But
Yeah.
opiates do have their time and their place. They
Yes,
are appropriate for
absolutely.
certain things. However, it's funny because chronic pain is not something that opioids should be used to treat.
Yeah.
And tons of doctors say that. One day I'll have my friend Dr. Jennifer Plum on
Yeah.
here. She'll be one of the first people to tell you that opioids are poor for long-term chronic pain management. And they only work for so many people.
Yeah.
So
They worked really well for Jason.
I'm glad they worked
Yeah,
well
they
for
worked
him.
really well, and he could just take the minimal, and he could work and function and be a dad,
Yeah.
and run his business and all of that. And then the opioid crisis came, and his doctor, who had prescribed always for him, who's been his doctor since he was young, just said, they're watching everybody, and I can't prescribe what you need. But let me back up a little bit. A year ago, he went back to the neurosurgeon and said, I need help. I need help. They did another MRI, and the neurosurgeon literally looked at him and said, your only option right now is to go to Europe and have a disc replacement surgery. Oh. And that's $50,000 a disc. And Jason needs
even
3.
in Europe?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it an American company doing it?
Really?
It's an American company doing it for sure.
And that's
basically they told him to wait to bide some time until the technology gets sophisticated enough that they can actually do it to fix his back.
Well, and they're doing it, and so that time's come. They're doing it in Europe, but it hasn't been approved here. But that was the same solution when Jason was 28 years old. But they said doing 2 discs, fusing them like I've had, is not life altering. Right. You can still do pretty much everything you've done. Okay. But doing 3 discs, it changes your life.
And the discs next to him are starting to go too. So he's potentially
he's
at 5 and up and up.
Yeah. So once you fuse, this disc has a lot of force
pressure
on it.
Right.
Well, mine is really good here. This one and this one on him are not good.
Oh.
So anyway, so that's what they wanted to do back then. But they said it will change your life. You will not be a good father. I mean, you won't be able to play with your kids. You won't be able to do things.
Yeah.
So now the neurosurgeon has said, if you were my son, I'd send you to Europe if we had the money to do that. And he said, but if you were my son right now and couldn't go to Europe, I wouldn't do the fusion, even at your young age in the early 30s.
Yeah.
It's going to be life changing.
Right.
So you just can't do it.
And people should know back surgeries are life changing anyway.
Oh yeah.
For the most part, doctors do try to avoid surgery for as long as possible on the back because once you start, it seems like then they keep coming.
Yeah.
So
he's done everything he could.
Yeah, he'll be having back surgeries every 5 years for the next 50 years.
So then when they kind of took him off of not off of the opioids, but wouldn't prescribe what he needed, and it was very well monitored by the doctor, and went in every month and all that.
And he'd never been known to abuse them.
No, hadn't had a problem, and he'd been going to the doctor for years. He was looking for something else. Yeah. He says, I can't function. I need something else. And so that's when he found the Kratom. And he's a researcher. He's like my husband. I call him walking consumer guides. They have to research everything before they... And so he said, Maddie, I really think this could work. And so then he has started using it.
Really, he used me as a guinea pig to see if it worked.
Yeah, he did.
Jason.
Yeah. But so now he's using it. Yeah. And he's using it along with the opioids.
Once Maddie lived, he was like, I'll do it now.
He was like, well, she survived. So,
but Maddie's probably pretty tough.
She is really tough. Yeah. So he has survived, and he's using it, and he is sure thankful for it. And it was a really big scare when they said that they were going to make it illegal in Utah. And, we know from Laura that she was really part of that push, big part of the push to get it. So it was legalized here and protected. Yeah. And, he just kept saying, I hope this works. I hope she's doing that. I hope she keeps doing that. But with the stigma out there, it's still, you don't want people to know. Yeah. Because they do just think it's just you just use another drug, or you use that drug, then you can't do that, or you can't drive, or you shouldn't be this, or so.
Does it impact him in any negative way? And does he just take it in conjunction with the opiates that he's able to be prescribed, or has it decreased his opiate use or anything like that?
No,
that was probably too many questions.
It didn't decrease the opioid because they already had decreased it.
They already had decreased them. Yeah.
Yes,
so
he
started using it to kind of supplement.
So he found that, like, if he got up in the morning and took one of his pain meds, then through the day, if he could kind of get it under control, not out of pain, but kind of under control, then the Kratom would keep him at a level that he could keep functioning. So he takes it pretty much every day. Yeah. And he doesn't take it at the same time as the other, and he kind of manages it that way. Yeah. Or if he's out of the other, he'll take just Kratom. And he puts it in a capsule, and he's the same way. He measures it really good and knows which one works the best for his situation, which isn't always the same as what Maddie takes. It's different for everybody. Yeah. So, yeah.
So you and your brother, even though you guys have matching or similar DNA, you guys, and you're using it for the same purposes, right? Like chronic pain is primarily. Yeah. So you have to, and you said he gets anxiety from cortisol shots, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, it's almost like he has an allergic reaction to
Interesting.
It. Yeah, and it's a major headache, and there's all the symptoms that you could get with them. He got.
He gets.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Well, and didn't Dad get that too when he?
And so you guys you have to use completely different strands. It's not like you call up your brother and say, hey.
Well, like we use a lot of the similar
Some of them
ones,
are the same.
but I'm more like OCD with it, where I have like I do 2 of this, 2 of this, 2 of this, 2. Like I have a certain schedule that I follow of them.
Yeah.
And so how has this changed Jason's life? And how has he also been impacted by, like, the fear of Kratom becoming illegal, the stigma of the Kratom, like, the change in opiate prescribing laws?
It's been a huge impact on all of our family, because we are a really close family. We have 4 kids, and all of them live in Salt Lake. And we see them often, and it is a constant conversation in our home of what's going on with Kratom, and what would I do if they made it illegal, and how would I function, and how could I do the things I needed to get done and not be in pain. And so it's been a huge impact on him, and it's a huge worry. It's a constant worry. He's constantly researching things, trying to be ahead of the curve, and if something's coming down the pipeline to make it illegal, or to make them go up in price.
We always talk about like the studies like, oh, this many people overdosed on Kratom this year. When they actually, if you look at like the breakdown of it, it's like all these people had heroin or fentanyl in their system along with Kratom. Like
that happens all the time with the drug overdose.
Oh, absolutely.
Period. Like heroin is actually only responsible for 15,000 deaths last year by itself, which is nowhere near the amount of people who actually overdose. And usually, it is a conjunction of more than one medication that is.
Because us addicts are like garbage cans. We don't just say, "Oh, I took a Tylenol. I took a Percocet today. I can't take anything else." Like,
or people just all the time take an opiate and a benzo because they seem to go well together, and they just don't understand that that's going to depress the system so much it's going to kill them. Same with alcohol, cocaine. So
I think alcohol is far more dangerous than a lot of the drugs out
there.
Well,
and the one thing that we've...
And they don't even remember what happened the next day. You don't even know when to clean up, I know when I used to drink, like if I had I still drink, but I don't drink like I used to. I don't drink like alcoholically. But I knew if I woke up and the phone was by me that I had amends to make somewhere, but I just didn't know where.
Look at your last call.
Back then it was like, because I've
wait until you hear about it from someone.
I thought, who is going to call me today? So I'm glad that doesn't happen.
Yes.
And it is nice that, there's no watching Maddie or Jason be zooed out.
Right.
There's none of that side effect.
Does it make you not out or anything like that? Because I'm a treatment provider, right? A substance abuse treatment provider, and my first interactions with Kratom, like I talked about on the show with Laura, is through treatment. Because my clients would go get it from the smoke shops. And back then, actually, you could get it at the smoke shops, and I think it was pretty good Kratom. Based on how they were behaving in groups. So my guys would be all nodding out and stuff, and so I don't know how much Kratom they were taking, but does it ever do that to you?
No, I don't feel like that at all.
This is something that's important to talk about, because like when somebody takes some huge amount because they're trying to abuse something intentionally to get high, that's going to be the response you get, right? But then that's what everybody thinks it's like for everyone, right?
Not at
Just
all.
like if somebody's on methadone prescribed, but they're not stabilized yet, or maybe they are being overprescribed their methadone, that's when they nod out in group, right? But then the whole group's like, God, we hate people on methadone. They're all nodding out and high, and it's like, no, they're just maybe are overprescribed, or they're not stabilized yet, right? But those are then the beliefs that people carry, right? So people in the substance abuse community look at Kratom like it's a bad thing for sure.
Because they see the people trying to take like 20 grams at once, or take big amounts.
Or their only exposure is like people who are trying to abuse it for whatever reason, right?
And
people are bad people because they are abusing something.
That's a good point too. They're taking other stuff with
it. Is that all they took?
Yeah, well, with my guys, it was because I can UA them. And so, and Kratom is something that doesn't come out positive in UA. And so it is something that if people are not ready to get sober, they could continue to utilize. And I have had guys, though, when I talk to them and say, why are you using the Kratom? And many would tell me for anxiety. Many guys tell me, it helps with my anxiety. And not all of them, even of the ones who were using it, because I'm quite sure that there were many more in a house of 63 that were using it, besides the one who was nodding out in group, right?
Yes.
But they too have valid reasons for why they're using it, but then it puts their treatment at risk. So, but I think that a big push for Kratom to becoming illegal came from the substance abuse community, because they see it in this light,
a negative light,
isn't accurate as to how the vast majority of people utilize it.
Yeah, I didn't even know that you could abuse it like that. I thought
Yeah.
if you took too much, you would just get sick. You know, it wouldn't.
Well, I
you
think
wouldn't
people that
get
have a high tolerance
yeah,
for opiates
that's-
don't get sick like that or
Yeah.
something. Because
Yeah.
if I take even a little bit too much kratom before I tattoo,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to throw up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah.
what I think Maddie's
Me too.
experiencing.
And I'm really
Jason.
sensitive to like different brands of kratom. Like if there's something else in it, I think my body's just like allergic to a lot of things.
Maddie's got very sensitive in sobriety.
Yeah.
Yes. No, but I do know people that have like taken ones like from a smoke shop and stuff and had bad reactions from it
Right.
because there's other stuff in it that you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that first and foremost, we need to have like honest conversations about substances, period. You know,
Yeah.
what they are, what their uses are, how to use them properly, what are the dangers that could be associated with them.
Yeah.
And then we have to make sure that people have a safe supply to utilize
Yeah,
those things. And I
absolutely.
think that all people have a right to choose what they want to put in their body, and for whatever reason that may be, whether it be because you need to self-medicate for pain,
Yeah.
whether it be because you're struggling with anxiety or whatever, for whatever reason, you know, we should have more compassion and allow people the autonomy to choose for themselves what's
Yeah.
best for them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, okay, well, ladies, I want to thank you so much
Thanks for
coming
having
on
us.
the
Yeah.
show.
Yes,
This
awesome.
has been a really great show, and I'm so excited for people to hear more of the conversation about what kratom can do and give
Yeah.
people alternatives, because the truth is, you know, I lost my sister to an opiate overdose, and
Oh,
Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
thank you. Malene is the
Yeah.
greatest. You'll hear about her plenty.
Oh.
But Malene was addicted to prescription pain medication.
Yeah.
You know, and she had been for like 15 years. And my sister would have been maybe a great candidate for medical cannabis, or probably an even better candidate for kratom.
Yeah.
You know, and if we keep people from being able to access these kind of substances, then what we're doing is like literally lining people up to die.
Yeah. It's a huge detriment.
Yeah, and it's just not acceptable.
As a mom who's not used drugs,
Yeah.
you know, illegally or like that, I would sure like
Never
people.
too late to start. No.
I might after this podcast.
Yes!
No, I just
Therapeutic
think
madness!
I would like those other people that are out there to. I like to get rid of the stigma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if I say, yeah, my kids use kratom and it works really well, and they're like, oh, kratom, a drug. You know,
Yeah.
I'd like them to know it's an alternative. I think everything that's out there is for a purpose.
Yeah.
And it's whether or not we choose to abuse it.
That's correct.
So,
Yeah. I've
And
known people who
everything.
abuse
Diet Coke and
Benadryl.
Twinkies.
Yeah.
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 We live in Utah. People abuse Diet Coke here, for sure.
Diet Mountain Dew.
For sure. Yeah, and it's just like, you know, and when I have had to detox from caffeine before, whew, that's the worst
Yeah.
headaches. That was
Yeah.
way worse than any
Oh,
time
yeah.
coming down off meth. I can tell you that. You know, and so I just think it's really interesting that people have their judgments, but their judgments are not necessarily based on fact.
No,
And
absolutely
then
not.
they generalize that to everybody, and then real
Yeah.
people pay real consequences for emotion-based policies.
Yes.
Yes.
Because to try to make
They're
kratom
scared.
illegal at all is an emotion-based policy. It's not a factual-based policy, and I'm a firm believer that our policies
Not
should be
educated.
driven and based upon science and evidence.
Yes.
Well, I just want to say, I think Maddie's here because of kratom.
Maddie, we're
I
glad
think
you're
she's
here.
Thank you. Me too.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for Jason, because like
Yeah.
my ex-husband, he has back problems, and my dad does too. My dad has
Yeah.
very significant back problems. He's had all those surgeries that
Yeah.
you just named for Jason. Those all sound very familiar.
Yeah.
And so if you haven't ever lived with somebody with chronic pain, you don't really know what that's like.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult for everybody in the family.
Yep.
It doesn't affect just the person who's
Yeah.
in pain, but
Oh,
if
yeah.
you can imagine being in so much pain every day that if you wake up and your pain level's an 8, you feel like that's a great day.
Yeah.
You know, people don't understand what a toll that takes physically, emotionally, the depression that comes with that.
yeah.
And then not being able to play with your kids, not being able to
Yeah.
attend family events, that just compounds it even more. So anything that can help people find relief from chronic pain that other people can't even understand is something that I'm 100%
Yeah.
in favor of.
Fully agree.
Yeah, well, like even his wife struggled a little bit because like if you had to be in bed, he couldn't physically
Yeah.
could not get out of bed.
Yeah.
And you have 3 kids, and you gotta like you need help. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah, so
hard.
she's a major supporter also.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, I'd like to thank you for coming on the
Thank you.
show.
You're
This
welcome.
was a great show, and
Yeah.
I hope we'll have you back again.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for tuning in to Therapeutic Madness. You can find our podcast on our website, www.therapeuticmadness.com. We'll have it posted on our Facebook page on Utah Harm Reduction Coalition, as well as Rebel Recovery. So tune in for our next episode, which will also be very exciting. And thanks for joining us. Stay
thank
mad,
you.
crazy friends.
Thanks.
Celebrate